What's up, everyone? This is Matt Abrams. Really excited to preview a second day in medical device sales. I didn't get the recording this morning because it was dark. Just like last time, I got up before traffic. I had an add-on surgery at one hospital, and I had two other hospitals with scheduled surgery. So I want to talk a little bit about how I manage the change in schedule and how I decide where to prioritize my sales approach. So I got up early. I got to the first hospital, which was a competitive hospital with one add-on. It was a tricky case, so I knew that I needed to be there. This time when I arrived, instead of going to the cafeteria and doing work, I just took a little nap in the car. I think a lot of med reps always have a concern that they're going to oversleep their alarm or miss it, and then have a conversation with the doctor that they're nowhere close and they need to reschedule or cancel the case. I feel more comfortable being in the hospital, so I was there. We were ready to go. I had two other hospitals that had cases that I needed to assign our clinical sales support to cover. And a lot of times our sales for these implantable products are done when we cover the cases. We do a lot of sales calls outside the hospital, but doing these cases, you really demonstrate the value of your product clinically, and you could also catch on some of the sales conversations you need to have, right? So it's a really good way to lock these doctors up for an hour because they have to do the surgery, right? And you can talk to them while they're at the scrub sink. You can talk to them after. This time, let me paint the picture again. I had three hospitals with cases, and I have three people on my team, myself and two amazing clinicals. And some days there are no cases, and some days we have really busy days where we need to decide, what is best for the territory and our area to continue growth. First, we need to have good cases and support good clinical outcomes, but how can we carry that momentum? And it's amazing having a lot of cases in a day because that's our sales goal. Medtronic also has a weird calendar in, and when I say weird, I mean just different. A lot of companies will close their books or their annual year on the calendar year, right? So when we celebrate New Year's, that's the first day of a lot of businesses. Medtronic has opted for a different year end for their business that is not tied to the calendar year. Our year end, Medtronic's year end is April, which means quarter three ends in January. So having these added cases is amazing. So first, when I look at the added cases, it's exciting, right? Some people are like, oh, we have to change the schedule. For me, it's just part of the job and we adapt. And this is how I decided. When I look at the different accounts, I need to understand the user or the implanter's experience, how competitive the account is, if we're protecting or growing share. If it's a physician I don't have much access with and they schedule the case, I probably want to be there to have a good result, but also to have some sales conversations. So today we had two accounts with two cases that were Medtronic friendly, and what that means is these customers are familiar with our product. They've done a lot of cases with us. They're big supporters and they believe in our product. And then we had one account who has a long history with my product, but not that much use over the years. So the way I decided this is we had to send one individual to cover each of these hospitals, three hospitals, right? And what I did was I decided that I wanted to cover the most competitive account based on my relationship with the physician and a couple sales calls I wanted to make with him. And I wanted to review a couple contracts. I wanted to review my idea for a fellows training. This center is a big competitive center. They're busy volume. It would be a huge win to grow share there. But they also have fellows, and fellows are really cool. They're about my age now, and these are doctors in training, and interventional structural heart fellows have been through years of training, and they're in their final year of their tenuous process where they're about to be attendings next year leading these amazing structural heart programs. So they're really fun to work with. They're very knowledgeable. They have very good interventional cardiology hands, and when I say they have good hands, it means procedurally they're good. They know what they're doing. They have good hand-eye coordination, and they know how to use fluoroscopy and deliver great results. And it's really fun to work with fellows because they're new. They really like learning about all companies. So my goal today with this competitive hospital and why I chose to go there instead of sending a clinical was I needed to have conversations with the attending and try to move our business forward, and I keep identifying patients that would benefit from our product. But I also wanted to follow up on fellows training and carving out time to sit down with these fellows to review our product. In a sense, that sounds pretty benign, right? But I view these opportunities anytime to get in front of people, physicians, as relationship building, but also sales, because when we do training, we educate about our product and where we see it fit, what patients would best benefit from our product, right? And then this fellow could communicate that to the attending behind doors. Say, hey, we did a training with this company, Matt, or we did a training with Matt Abrams. He went over some data and thought that this specific patient would really benefit from Evolut. Do you want to consider Evolut for this patient? And sometimes we see that translate into business for us, so that's really amazing. But even without the ulterior motive, just training and educating physicians is part of the sales rep role, right? It's not just about selling and collecting revenue, it's about educating and helping these physicians be comfortable with your device, especially when they're headed out of fellowship into practice. My two other accounts, which are Medtronic friendly, and they operate independent, and really they don't need us there. We still scrub in to load the valve and provide procedural support, but really do the CT, load the valve, and some insight. These ones, I looked at two things: geographical closeness of the hospital to each clinical, and also relationship. So one clinical went to the account that he's usually at for 2 cases, and there was something he needed to follow up on, so that was perfect. And my other account is where I sent my other clinical, who knows the account, knows the drill, and knows the physicians really well. So I feel comfortable because today we had a lot of business, which is great, and we clinically covered the 3 accounts strategically. And a lot of times in med device sales, it's so silly because people are going to ask you, how do you prioritize your day, or how do you go about your sales strategy? And to me, it's pretty easy. You just go about it, and whatever comes up, you solve. But sometimes managers like to ask this question. And today's case, or today's dilemma of cases, which is a good thing, presented that challenge of how do we prioritize myself and my sales approach and my team to deliver good clinical outcomes, but build the momentum as we close this quarter into next quarter, right? So I look at many different variables. The most basic is geographical, which is not the most important, but I do try to be kind to myself and the clinicals on our team, that we're not driving a ton. Next would be the clinical support being one of the top priorities, looking at the skill set of the physicians and our clinicals to make sure they're matched and we have a good outcome. And then 3 would be looking at the sales and what I need to accomplish and the opportunity and where I need to move forward. And lastly would be looking also at the relationships. Some physicians are very peculiar and they only like certain people in the room. And my philosophy is I don't want people to be dependent on myself or Matt Abrams, but I do like having that, right? It does feel good to have physicians wanting to work with you, but it can present some headaches when you have busier days and there's only one of you and you can't cover all these accounts. So I always reinforce that the Matt Abrams team is a team, right? That each clinical and I work together, and that if you're getting one of my clinicals or you're having great clinical support. If I'm not at the cases, I do try to make it after to follow up, catch the doctors in the lab, the break room, or the cafeteria, or even clinic to make sure everything went well, which is usually the case. And very rarely, not today, but if something was a little bit delayed or there was an issue, I would go talk to the physicians and note that down for the future and make sure that they feel good going forward, right? So today we managed and prioritized a schedule that allowed our team to win and build momentum. I drove pretty far, pretty early. Usually when I do that, as if you remember from my last video, I like to hit accounts on the way back, do drop-ins, let people know I'm alive, let people know my quarter is ending and that I need a little bit of business and support. Today's a little bit different. I've been nominated for a sales course, which I'll do online, which is in person, which is really exciting. And I speak English, but then you also have to learn your company's language. There's a lot of acronyms, but for this example, and what I mean by that silly joke is, if you're trying to go from clinical to sales, which is breaking a glass ceiling, or sales to people leadership, how do you do that? Well, one way you need to take stretch opportunities, and I'm going to do a future video on that, but the most basic point is your manager can nominate you for sales courses or programs through HR to give you the skills needed to make that next move. And when I said it's a Medtronic language or your company's language, so today I'm doing a sales course with a particular name. So when I talk to other hiring managers that might look at me as a people leader or sales rep, I can mention that, in January 2025, I did this sales course with this name, and that will tip them off because that to them means that someone believes in me, knows that I want to be a people leader. They put resources behind me, which is, the cost of the course, allowing me to take time out of my day to do the course and not focus on sales. So that's really special. And I'm going to do a future video on breaking into, from clinical to sales to people leadership, etc. But one thing is there's a lot of resources within the companies that can give you a lot of support. So that's it for today. I think if I make any stops on the way, I'll make sure to record them. But today was a review of the 5 cases, the priorities and how we manage them, and how we move forward throughout the day. I also gave a little sneak peek about the importance of taking on stretch opportunities to put yourself in a future position that you want to be. So that's that. I appreciate it. We'll talk soon. What's up, everyone? I thought I was going to be done, but I wanted to talk about something really med device sales and how the sales course went. I went to FedEx. That is the most medical device thing you could do. We ship so much product to colleagues that are missing product, need product, tools, the simulators. I go to FedEx so much, so I made a card with all my information, so it's so easy to ship. And I see more of my local reps at FedEx than some of the hospitals. It's hilarious. We always take a few minutes to catch up. I also wanted to talk about the sales course. If you're a clinical trying to break into sales, you got to do some of these sales courses. It could be consultative selling, all these different tactics to help grow you, and also so you can put on your resume so you could break that ceiling. And it's the same for someone trying to go from an individual contributor role to a sales leader, right? So earlier I might have made it sound like these are boxes you just check. I want to be clear, it is not just a box you check, right? I joined this amazing call, met 30 plus people from all different business units and functions at my company, which is really awesome. So not just people within my own TAVR division, but other divisions, from R&D to quality to reg to all the different divisions. And it's really nice to build your internal network. And it was a really well done course that I'm going to put on my resume, but also I learned a lot. It helped me think differently at my company and my future leadership goals. So FedEx is awesome. These sales courses or these stretch assignments help you break into the next role. And trying to think anything else. I had a plan to finish the day with that sales course, but a few things popped up and I had to prioritize. This is important for my development, but there was a couple fires that I could triage myself and that we took care of. And that would be cases coming in, a couple of doctors calling about questions and some thoughts. So this is another day in a life of a medical device rep. I absolutely love this job, and I'm going to keep providing exposure to these amazing roles, because coming out of college, I did not know this field existed, and it's absolutely amazing. I love what I do every single day. I have a ton of people hitting me up on YouTube or LinkedIn that are super appreciative and asking questions. I'm hoping I'm addressing all those, and I'll keep doing this. Everyone take care.